Now, I did not have this information in May of 2007, nor yesterday when I made my statement. But I am responsible for the information provided by the Canadian Forces, and I am accountable for it today. I intend to investigate why it took so long for this information to get to the Chief of Defence Staff, both my predecessor and I. Nonetheless, I accept the military police report to be accurate. I am proud that our soldiers acted courageously and ethically when they retrieved the individual from the Afghan National Police when it was apparent that he had been injured. That's the kind of decisive action soldiers make on a battlefield, and I'm proud of our soldiers. I'm open for your questions.
Please have you like
James Cudmore from the CBC. It seems to me that what your sergeant was saying was that it was common knowledge in Kandahar province, on the ground, among Canadian soldiers, that when they transferred Canadian captured detainees to Afghan custody, for whatever reason, be it transport or otherwise, that they were in the very least subject to abuse, at serious risk perhaps of abuse, and that there was, according to the sergeant, more than one incident of such abuse occurring. What do you think that says about the way that the Department of National Defence, the Canadian Forces, and indeed the Government of Canada have been telling Canadians that Afghan detainees who were transferred to Afghan authority were treated?
Again, this is happening in a combat environment on a battlefield, and our soldiers are making the right kind of decisions on the ground. I agree with you that this does beg a number of questions, and I intend to have an investigation on this, on the nature of this event to determine exactly what does it mean, what did it mean in terms of how we conduct ourselves in the battlefield.
Do you, just by way of supplementary here, do you think it's now possible for the Canadian Forces or for you or for the DND to say that, that there has never been any credible evidence of abuse of a Canadian transferred detainee in the hands of Afghan authorities?
I think it's, again, up to this point, we have indicated that we transfer from Kandahar. We take people who are obviously indicated on the battlefield that they are the enemy. We transfer them back to Kandahar. We put them through a medical assessment. We go through tactical questioning to confirm who they are. And then we transfer them only to the Afghan authorities in accordance with the agreement that we have, at the same time recognizing that we are mentoring the Afghan detention system so that they abide, as they agreed to, international standards.
Hi, General. Peter Harris from Global National. Just on that theme, I mean, it's pretty remarkable to see you here today. I'm wondering if you see this as proof of torture. Is this proof of abuse?
I mean, what we know of, and I've seen the photo of the individual, and the fact I take the report as at face value, and I also take the report with regard to the field notes of what the sergeant saw, and you know, the picture of the individual shows a scrape on his nose, and that. But I think it's worthwhile just to have an investigation in terms of what actually was there. If this is the information I'm finding out this morning, you know, 9 o'clock on the 9th of December, what else is there before I make a conclusion like that?
So, I mean, people have been reluctant to call it a cover-up. I'm wondering if inside the military, and as you've gone through your forensic investigation on your own in the last few weeks, are you concerned that information flow inside the military during this period of time was lacking?
You know, I've got 35 years of this business. And, you know, and I've been on I spent 3 years of my life away from Canada in Bosnia and in Croatia and in Cyprus. And I spent a year in Iraq. You know, the line we always use is the first report's always wrong. The second report is less wrong. Third report's starting to get closer to right. And it's when I read, you know, it's fascinating. I read the duty officer's report. I have one hand here, the duty officer's report, and God bless him, putting the report together. And it says here that during the conduct of Operation Yangra, Orion 22 came across 3 fighting-age males in the Zangabad area. They conducted some initial questioning of the 3, but they did not detain them. Orion 2-2 requested that Orion 2 send some Afghan National Police to their position. And the Afghan National Police came along, questioned the three. They did a gunshot residue test, was conducted, but the result was negative. As a result of the questioning, the ANP decided to detain one of them. It's unclear why the Afghan National Police decided to detain the individual. Now, you've got to keep in mind that this is happening on an active battlefield. You've got an organization that is in 3 separate fights. At least that's what the colonel indicated to me. Our microscope is on this event, but you have section commanders, platoon commanders, company commanders, battalion commander focused on a complex battlefield. And so this perception that one would have that are people misrepresenting it, no. What you have is a duty officer trying to collate all this information that's coming in and provide as accurate information as he can up. And so it's difficult sifting through all this information. And again, I would say, on behalf of the soldiers and sailors and airmen and women doing this business, they're doing the best they can. But I would not put any kind of a malicious intent, as your question inferred.
Raymond Fillon, TVA, General Natynczyk.
Bonjour.
Pouvez-vous nous dire en français, après des années de déni,
Now, after years of denial, can we conclude today that at least one detainee handed over to Afghan authorities by Canadians was abused or tortured? Well, he was arrested by Canadian forces, and at that time, the Afghan police took control of that individual. And after that, our military police found this individual with wounds. He was wounded. And the corporals did what they had to do at that time. They took back control of that individual. But the fact remains that the Canadian soldiers handed over this person who was then tortured. Is that not correct? Yes. One could conclude that.
What?
Yes.
Sorry, we're going to move to the phones for a few questions. We'll come back to the floor. On va passer au téléphone. Opérateur, avez-vous des questions? Operator?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's better. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll yell. How long has the military been aware that some of the prisoners were being abused when you turned them over?
We're listening in live to a news conference rather hastily called by Lieutenant General Walter Natynczyk to correct comments the General made yesterday that a Taliban suspect who was tortured by Afghan security or ill-treated by Afghan security had not been a Canadian detainee. General Natynczyk today clarifying that, saying, in fact, he was a Canadian detainee, and this is a rather dramatic revelation today. General Natynczyk saying that reports indicating the relationship between the Canadian military and the Afghan security forces on this particular case didn't become apparent to him back in May when he first talked about this, nor was it clear to him yesterday, but overnight he came across documents that in fact show this person was a Canadian detainee. In fact, he read from the sergeant involved in the arrest and transfer that they photographed, Canadian military photographed the individual. So if the Afghan National Police did assault him after he was transferred, as had happened in past, there would be some evidence of that. This is truly, in terms of Ottawa, some earth-shattering revelations from a person at the center of what is a growing storm over detainee treatment by Afghan security forces. Rosemary Barton's been watching.